Hello and welcome to the Daily Bible Podcast. My name is William Hemsworth. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. Well, today we're going to finish up the story of the Roman Centurion and Jesus, and as we've seen over the past few days, the Roman Centurion is a very influential, not only story in Matthew's Gospel, but in his province in which he was living at the time as well. He was in charge of 100 soldiers, and his servant was very sick, so he came to Jesus and asked for healing. He took a great risk. He risked everything, including his own life, to come to do this, because to acknowledge Jesus as divine would be to pretty much, in Roman eyes, become an atheist, and he could lose everything that he had worked hard for. But today we're going to look at Matthew chapter 8, verses 11 through 13, which say, "I tell you, many will come from east and west and will eat with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven, while the heirs of the kingdom will be thrown into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." And to the centurion Jesus said, "Go, let it be done for you according to your faith." And the servant was healed in that hour. So, right off the bat, in verse 11, Jesus says, "From the east and to the west." The east and the west stands for the four corners of the earth. And so all the faithful people of God will be gathered to the feast of the Messiah. And this, Jesus is touching on a theme in Isaiah chapter 6, verse 55. Now the Jewish leaders should have known, they really should have known, since they had most of the Old Testament memorized. They should have known that when the Messiah came, he was for everyone, not just for the Jews, but for the Gentiles as well. However, they were so absorbed in their self-centeredness and in their pride that they kind of ignored that. They were shocked. And so this kind of goes with the overall theme of Matthew as we've seen over these first 8 chapters. Matthew's universal theme is that the message of Christ is for everyone. Now, the Old Testament prophets were well aware of this. We see this in Isaiah, like I just mentioned. Isaiah and Malachi, for example, are two prophets that describe the Messianic blessings as not just for the Israelites, but for the Gentiles as well. But the Jewish leaders at Jesus' time ignored that. So here's the thing. Each individual has a choice on whether to accept the gospel or to ignore it. No one can become a part of God's kingdom based on who they know, unless it's Christ, or just the connections they have. We must believe in and follow Christ, just like the Roman Centurion has. So I've said this a couple times over the last couple days. Do we have the faith of the Roman Centurion? Or are we going through the motions? Are we relying on who we know? Because our parents go to church and are Christians, that means that I'm going to be in as well. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. You must make that decision on whether you're going to follow Christ or not. So be like the Roman Centurion. Follow Christ. Put your faith in Christ. Join in that Messianic banquet. Guys, thank you for joining me on this edition of the Daily Bible Podcast. As always, if you enjoy the show, I ask that you share it. And as always, as well, if you have questions on what we've gone over, questions in general, please email me at hopewithin18@gmail.com. God bless you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.